What happens when your husband stops arguing and starts documenting every betrayal? How do you defend yourself when the evidence arrives at your door, delivered in a cold envelope, and your laughter has already written the ending? Can you still call it a joke when the only punchline is a process server saying your full name? The bass thumped through Jasper's downtown apartment as I adjusted my red dress in the hallway mirror. The party was already in full swing, laughter echoing from the living room, glasses clinking, and that familiar buzz of social validation I craved like oxygen. "Ivadne, you look incredible." Jasper appeared behind me, his hand sliding around my waist as he planted a kiss on my cheek. The gesture lingered longer than it should have, his lips brushing against my skin in a way that sent electricity through my body. "Stop it," I giggled, but I didn't pull away. "Caleb's right there." My husband stood by the kitchen island, nursing a beer and looking uncomfortable in his button-down shirt. At 34, Caleb had that quiet, methodical energy of a high school math teacher, reliable, predictable, and increasingly boring. "Relax, Cal," Jasper called out, his arm still wrapped around me. "It's just a party. Your wife knows how to have fun, unlike some people." The dig was obvious, and I watched Caleb's jaw tighten. He'd been resistant to coming tonight, muttering something about it being inappropriate for me to spend so much time with his old college friend. But Jasper had been nothing but welcoming since moving back to town, and I wasn't about to let my husband's insecurities ruin my social life. "Come on, everyone. Group photo." I pulled out my phone, gathering the crowd around us. Jasper's hand found the small of my back, his fingers tracing small circles through the fabric of my dress. "Closer, everyone," I called out, pressing against Jasper as the camera clicked. His cologne filled my senses, expensive and intoxicating, so different from Caleb's practical aftershave. The night progressed in a blur of cocktails and attention. Jasper made sure my glass never emptied, his compliments flowing as freely as the alcohol. He told me I was wasted in marketing, that I should be modeling. He said Caleb was lucky to have someone so vibrant, so alive. "You're terrible," I laughed as he whispered something inappropriate in my ear about my dress. "You love it," he replied, his breath hot against my neck. And I did. God help me, I did. The moment that changed everything happened around midnight. I was posting another selfie with Jasper, his arm around my shoulders, both of us grinning at the camera, when I felt his hand come down hard on my backside. Smack! The sound echoed through the room, followed by a moment of stunned silence before the crowd erupted in laughter and cheers. "Jasper," I squealed, but I was laughing too, my face flushed with alcohol and excitement. "You're so bad." "Someone's got to keep you in line," he grinned, pulling me closer. I looked around the room, basking in the attention, the approval, the way everyone was looking at us like we were the entertainment for the evening. This was what I lived for, being the center of attention, being desired, being fun. Then I saw Caleb. He stood frozen by the kitchen, his beer bottle gripped so tightly his knuckles were white. His face had gone completely pale, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not just hurt, but a kind of cold calculation. "Oh, come on, Cal," I called out, my voice slightly slurred. "Don't be such a prude. It was just a joke." The room fell silent again, all eyes turning to my husband. Someone snickered. Another person whispered something that made their friend laugh. Caleb set down his beer with deliberate precision and walked toward the door. "Caleb, wait!" I stumbled after him, Jasper's laughter following me into the hallway. "We're leaving," Caleb said quietly, not looking at me. "But the party's just getting started. Everyone's having fun." "You're having fun," he corrected, his voice eerily calm. "I'm going home." The drive back to our suburban house was silent except for my increasingly desperate attempts to justify what had happened. It was harmless, Caleb. Everyone was laughing. "You're making this into something it's not." He didn't respond, just stared straight ahead at the road. "Are you seriously going to give me the silent treatment over this? It was a joke, Jasper's your friend." Still nothing. By the time we got home, I was furious. How dare he embarrass me like that? How dare he make me leave early and look like some kind of controlling husband? "Fine," I snapped, pulling out my phone as he disappeared into his study. "If you want to be miserable, that's your choice." I posted the photos from the party, all of them, including the one where Jasper's hand was clearly making contact with my body. The caption read, "Some people know how to have fun. Good friends. Then party time, as an often living my best life." The likes and comments started pouring in immediately. Heart eye emojis, fire symbols, comments about how lucky Jasper was, and how playful we looked together. I fell asleep that night with my phone in my hand, scrolling through the validation, telling myself I'd done nothing wrong. I didn't notice that Caleb never came to bed. I didn't see him sitting in his study until 3 a.m, a fresh notebook open in front of him, writing down times, dates, and details with the methodical precision of a man who'd finally stopped hoping and started planning. The morning after the party, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my sister Lynn and a text that made my stomach drop. "Ivadne, call me now. Mum saw your posts." I stumbled to the kitchen, head pounding, to find Caleb already gone. A note on the counter informed me he'd left early for school. No, "Good morning." No, "How are you feeling?" Just cold, factual information about his whereabouts. My phone rang before I could pour coffee. "What the hell were you thinking?" Lynn's voice was sharp with disapproval. "Good morning to you too," I muttered, squinting at the bright screen of my phone to check the damage from last night's posts. "Ivadne, those pictures, they look really bad. And that video someone tagged you in, you can see everything." My heart stopped. "What video?" "Sarah Morrison posted it. You and Jasper." "God, Ivadne, it looks like you're having an affair." I frantically scrolled through my notifications until I found it. Someone had recorded the moment Jasper slapped me, but the angle made it look even worse than it was. You could see me pressing against him, laughing, the way his hand lingered afterward. The comments were brutal. "It was just a joke," I said weakly. "Does Caleb think it's a joke?" "Because Mum called him this morning and he wouldn't even talk to her." That gave me pause. Caleb adored my mother-in-law, Eleanor. If he wasn't taking her calls... "He's being dramatic," I said, but doubt was creeping in. "Ivadne, listen to me. Delete those posts. Apologize to your husband. Fix this before it gets worse." But I couldn't delete them. Not when they had over 200 likes. Not when people were commenting about how fun and spontaneous I was. Not when deleting them would be admitting I'd done something wrong. At work, I tried to focus on the Henderson campaign, but my phone kept buzzing with notifications. More comments, more shares, more attention. Some of it was negative, sure, but attention was attention. "Ivadne," my supervisor Rachel appeared at my cubicle around 10. "Could I see you in my office?" The walk to her glass-walled office felt endless. Rachel closed the door and gestured for me to sit. "I've received some calls this morning," she began carefully, "about some social media posts that have been circulating." My face burned. "I don't understand." The Henderson client saw some photos and videos that concerned them. They're questioning whether our team maintains the professional image they expect from their marketing partners. That was my personal time. My private life has nothing to do with my work. Rachel sighed. "Ivadne, when you're tagged in posts that go viral, when clients can Google your name and find questionable content, it becomes a work issue. I need you to clean up your online presence. Today." I nodded, humiliated, but as soon as I got back to my desk, I opened the group chat with my girlfriends from college. "Can you believe this?" I typed. "My boss is policing my social media now. Apparently, having fun is unprofessional." The responses were mixed. Some supported me, calling it an invasion of privacy. Others were more hesitant. "Maybe just tone it down a little," suggested Maria. "Tone what down? I didn't do anything wrong." But even as I typed it, I could feel the doubt spreading. When I got home that evening, Caleb was in his study with the door closed. I could hear him on the phone, speaking in low, measured tones. "Caleb?" I knocked softly. "I'm busy. Can we talk about last night?" "There's nothing to talk about." His dismissal stung. I tried the handle, but the door was locked. He'd never locked his study before. "Caleb, please, I know you're upset, but you're blowing this out of proportion." The talking stopped. After a long moment, the door opened. My husband looked tired, older somehow. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his usually neat hair was disheveled. "Am I?" he asked quietly. "Yes. It was a party. Friends were having fun. You're acting like I committed some terrible crime." "I'm acting like my wife let another man put his hands on her in public, then posted it online for the world to see." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Ivadne? Explain it to me." I searched for the words, for a way to make him understand. "It was playful, innocent. You know Jasper, he's always been touchy-feely. It doesn't mean anything." "It meant something to me." "Well, maybe that's your problem. Maybe you need to lighten up and stop being so paranoid about everything." Something shifted in his expression. The hurt disappeared, replaced by something colder, more distant. "Maybe I do," he said, and closed the door. That night, I lay in our empty bed, scrolling through my phone, responding to comments, defending myself to strangers on the internet. Each notification felt like validation, proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't wrong. I didn't hear Caleb moving around downstairs until nearly 2 a.m. The soft sound of papers shuffling, drawers opening and closing, the quiet hum of the printer running. When I crept to the top of the stairs, I could see him through the crack in his study door, sitting at his desk with neat stacks of paper arranged in front of him. He was writing in a notebook, occasionally checking his phone, cross-referencing something on his computer screen. "What are you doing?" I called down. He looked up, and for a moment our eyes met across the dark hallway. "Keeping records," he said simply, and went back to his work. I should have been worried. I should have recognized the methodical way he was moving, the careful precision of a man building a case. But I was too angry, too convinced of my own righteousness to see what was right in front of me. Instead, I went back to bed and posted another selfie, this one with the caption, "Some people spend their nights worrying, I spend mine living. No regrets, hunt out, be yourself." The likes started rolling in immediately, and I fell asleep with a smile on my face, never imagining that each post was another piece of evidence in a file that was growing thicker by the day. 2 weeks later, Jasper called with an invitation that I knew I should decline. "Small gathering," he said, his voice warm and familiar through the phone. "Just a few close friends. Nothing crazy like last time." I was sitting in my car outside the grocery store, having just endured another awkward encounter with Mrs. Peterson from down the street. She'd given me a look that could freeze hell and made a pointed comment about some people having no shame. The whole neighborhood was talking, and I was tired of feeling like a pariah. "I don't know, Jasper. Things have been complicated. Because of Caleb? Come on, Ivadne. You can't let him control your social life. You're a grown woman." He was right. I was 32 years old, and I shouldn't have to ask permission to see friends. Caleb had been giving me the cold shoulder for 2 weeks, barely speaking except when necessary, sleeping in the guest room like some kind of martyr. "You know what? You're absolutely right. What time?" 8 o'clock. "And Ivadne, wear that blue dress, the one that drives everyone crazy." I knew exactly which dress he meant, the one Caleb had bought me for our anniversary last year, the one that hugged every curve and made me feel powerful and desired. That evening, I spent extra time getting ready. Hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, the blue dress fitting like it was made for me. When I came downstairs, Caleb was grading papers at the kitchen table. He looked up, and I saw something flicker across his face. Pain, maybe, or recognition. But he didn't say anything. "I'm going out," I announced, To Jasper's. It wasn't a question. Somehow, he already knew. Yes, to Jasper's. He's having a small get-together, and I could use some fun after the way you've been treating me. Caleb set down his red pen with deliberate care. How have I been treating you? Like I'm some kind of criminal? You haven't spoken to me in 2 weeks except to grunt and give me dirty looks. I've been thinking. Well, think faster. I'm tired of walking on eggshells in my own house. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, expecting him to call after me, to fight, to show some emotion. Instead, I heard the soft scratch of his pen resuming its work on the papers. Jasper's apartment was dimly lit, music playing softly in the background. True to his word, it was a smaller crowd, maybe 15 people instead of 30. But the energy was the same, that intoxicating mix of alcohol and attention that I'd been craving. There's my beautiful girl, Jasper said, pulling me into a hug that lasted too long and felt too good. The evening progressed predictably. Drinks flowed, compliments were exchanged, and gradually I felt the tension of the past 2 weeks melting away. This was where I belonged, surrounded by people who appreciated me, who found me interesting and fun and worth their time. You look incredible tonight, Jasper whispered in my ear as we posed for another photo. His hand was on my hip, his body pressed against mine. Thank you, I breathed, feeling dizzy from his proximity and the wine. That husband of yours doesn't deserve you. He doesn't see what he has. Don't, I said weakly, but I didn't pull away when his thumb traced circles on my hip bone. I'm serious, Ivadne. You're wasted on him. You need someone who appreciates your fire, your passion. The photo session escalated throughout the night. Jasper's hands grew bolder, his comments more suggestive. I should have stopped it, should have remembered that I was married, that people were watching, that cameras were recording everything. But I was drunk on attention and validation, and the way Jasper made me feel like the most desirable woman in the room. The moment that sealed my fate happened around 11. We were taking what I thought would be a simple group selfie when Jasper suddenly dipped me backward like we were dancing, his face inches from mine. Kiss me, he whispered, so quietly only I could hear. Jasper, I can't. Just for the photo, give them something to talk about. The cameras were flashing, people were cheering, and in that moment of reckless abandon, I let him kiss me. It was brief, theatrical, designed for the audience, but it was also real in a way that terrified and thrilled me. The room erupted in cheers and whistles. Someone shouted, "Get a room!" Another person started a slow clap. I was laughing, high on adrenaline and wine, when I posted the photos to my social media with the caption, "Life's too short not to live it. Some people get it, some don't." No apologies. Real friends, Jatra alive and thriving. The response was immediate and explosive. Likes, shares, comments, both supportive and scandalized. I was trending in my own small circle, the center of attention, in a way I hadn't been since college. I didn't check my phone again until I was in the Uber home, and that's when I saw the messages. Dozens of them. From Lynn, from coworkers, from people I barely knew. But the one that made my blood run cold was from Eleanor, Caleb's mother. "Evadne, honey, please call me. We need to talk." I stumbled into the house around 2 a.m., expecting to find Caleb asleep, or at least pretending to be. Instead, he was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, my social media posts displayed on the screen. "Have fun?" he asked without looking up. It was fine. I tried to sound casual, but my voice came out defensive. "I can see that." He clicked to the next photo, the one of Jasper kissing me. "Very fine. It was just for the picture. It didn't mean anything." "Of course it didn't." His voice was eerily calm. "Nothing ever means anything with you, does it, Ivadne?" "What's that supposed to mean?" He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes made me take a step backward. Not anger, not hurt, something far more dangerous. Resolution. "It means I'm done pretending this is normal." I'm done pretending my wife isn't having an emotional affair with my former friend. I'm done pretending that public humiliation is just having fun. I am not having an affair. We're friends. Just because you're too uptight to understand friendship. Friendship. He repeated the word like it tasted bitter. Is that what you call it when you let another man kiss you and post it online for our families to see? You're being ridiculous. It was one kiss for a photo. One kiss this time. What about next time? What about the time after that? I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but something in his tone stopped me. There was a finality to it that I'd never heard before. Caleb, I love you. You're my husband. Nothing is going to change that. He closed the laptop and stood up. You're right. Nothing is going to change. You're going to keep pushing boundaries, keep justifying it, keep making me look like a fool. And I'm going to keep documenting it. Documenting it. Every post, every photo, every comment. Every time you choose him over me, choose your ego over our marriage. I'm keeping track of it all. That's insane. You're keeping some kind of file on me. I'm protecting myself, Ivadne, because you've made it clear that you won't. He walked past me toward the stairs, then paused. By the way, we're having lunch with my parents on Sunday. They've seen the photos. They have questions. My stomach dropped. What kind of questions? The kind married women shouldn't have to answer about pictures with men who aren't their husbands. He left me standing in the kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my choices, finally beginning to understand that there might be consequences I hadn't considered. But even then, even with the weight of his disappointment pressing down on me, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. The kiss had felt too good, the attention too intoxicating, the validation too necessary. I went to bed that night telling myself that Caleb would get over it, that his family would understand, that this was all just a temporary storm that would blow over once everyone calmed down. I had no idea that the storm was just beginning. Sunday lunch at the Hartley family home was a special kind of torture. Eleanor had set the dining room table with her good china, and the formal atmosphere made everything feel like an interrogation. Richard, Caleb's father, carved the roast beef with surgical precision while making small talk about the weather. Eleanor bustled around serving vegetables, her smile strained. Lydia, Caleb's 23-year-old sister, sat across from me, shooting daggers with her eyes. So, Ivadne, Richard finally said, setting down his carving knife, Eleanor and I have been seeing some interesting photos online. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Oh? Very interesting, Lydia added, her voice dripping with sarcasm, especially the ones where you're kissing men who aren't my brother. Lydia, Eleanor warned, but her heart wasn't in it. What? We're all thinking it. Might as well say it. I looked to Caleb for support, but he was methodically cutting his meat into perfect squares, his face expressionless. It was just a photo, I said weakly. People are making it into something it's not. Are they? Richard's voice was quiet but sharp. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my daughter-in-law is publicly embarrassing my son. The words hit like a slap. I would never... You already have. Lydia leaned forward, her young face fierce with protective anger. Do you know what it's like for Caleb at work? His students have seen those pictures. Their parents have seen them. He's a high school teacher, Ivadne. His reputation matters. I hadn't thought about that. In my self-absorbed bubble, I hadn't considered how my actions might affect Caleb's career, his standing in the community. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, I said, and for the first time, I actually meant it. But it did happen, Eleanor said gently, and now we need to figure out how to fix it. There's nothing to fix, I said automatically. I haven't done anything wrong. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the clink of silverware stopped. Haven't you? Richard asked. I looked around the table at their faces, disappointed, angry, concerned. Even Eleanor, who had always been kind to me, looked like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. I think, Caleb said quietly, speaking for the first time since we'd arrived, that Ivadne has made her priorities clear. What priorities? I snapped, my defensiveness flaring. Having friends, enjoying myself, not letting you control every aspect of my social life. There it is, Lydia said with bitter satisfaction. Blame Caleb. Make him the bad guy for being hurt that his wife is carrying on with another man. I am not carrying on. Then what do you call it? Richard's voice cut through my protest. What do you call letting another man put his hands on you, kiss you, while you laugh and post it online for the world to see? I call it living my life. The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Eleanor's face crumpled with disappointment. Richard shook his head slowly. Lydia made a sound of disgust. But it was Caleb's reaction that scared me most. He simply nodded, like I'd confirmed something he'd already known. Well, he said, folding his napkin neatly beside his plate, I think that answers everyone's questions. He stood up and kissed his mother's cheek. Thank you for lunch, Mum. I'll call you later. Caleb, wait! I started to rise, but he was already walking away. Sit down, Ivadne, Richard said firmly. Let him go. I sat back down, my face burning with humiliation and anger. This was supposed to be about family, about support, about understanding. Instead, they were all ganging up on me, making me the villain. I love your son, I said desperately. I would never do anything to hurt him. But you already have, Eleanor said softly, and you don't even see it. The drive home was silent. Caleb stared straight ahead, his hand steady on the wheel, while I alternated between fury and panic. Your family is out of line, I finally said as we pulled into our driveway. Are they? Yes. They attacked me, made me feel like some kind of criminal. You made yourself feel that way, Ivadne. They just asked questions you couldn't answer. Inside the house, I watched him disappear into his study again. The locked door, the private phone calls, the methodical note-taking. It was all starting to feel ominous in a way I couldn't quite articulate. That evening, I met Jasper at a quiet bar downtown. I needed someone who understood me, who didn't make me feel like I was crazy for wanting to have fun. They're trying to control you, he said after I'd told him about lunch. Make you feel guilty for being yourself. That's what I said, but they made it sound like I was having some torrid affair. Maybe you should be. His hand covered mine across the small table. Maybe you deserve someone who appreciates what he has. The suggestion hung between us, dangerous and tempting. I didn't pull my hand away. Jasper. I'm serious, Ivadne. Leave him. Be with someone who gets you, who doesn't try to dim your light. For a moment, I actually considered it. The fantasy was seductive. A life without judgment, without walking on eggshells, without constantly defending my right to exist. But reality crashed back in. I can't. He's my husband. A husband who's keeping files on you like you're some kind of criminal. My blood chilled. How do you know about that? You told me. Remember? He's documenting everything, building some kind of case. Had I told him that? The conversation was fuzzy in my memory, but Jasper seemed certain. What kind of case could he possibly have? I haven't done anything illegal. Maybe not illegal, but... Jasper shrugged. In a divorce, perception matters, and right now, the perception is that you're cheating. I'm not cheating. I know that. You know that. But does it matter what we know if everyone else thinks differently? The word divorce hit me like cold water. Caleb wouldn't actually... Would he? I drove home in a daze, Jasper's words echoing in my head. When I got there, the house was dark, except for the light under Caleb's study door. I could hear him in there, the soft sound of papers shuffling, the occasional tap of computer keys. I tried the handle, still locked. Caleb, can we talk? I'm busy. Please, I need to understand what's happening here. The sound stopped. After a long moment, the door opened. My husband looked exhausted. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, his eyes red-rimmed from staring at screens. What's happening, he said quietly, is that I'm protecting myself. From what? From me? I'm your wife, Caleb. I love you. Do you? The question was asked without anger, almost with curiosity. Because love looks different from where I'm standing. Of course I do. Just because I have friends, just because I like to have fun, just because you let other men kiss you and post it online for our families to see. It was one kiss, one stupid photo. It was the last straw, Ivadne. The final piece of evidence that you care more about your ego than our marriage. Evidence? There you go again with that word. What evidence? Evidence of what? He studied my face for a long moment, and I saw something like pity in his eyes. You really don't see it, do you? You genuinely believe you've done nothing wrong. Because I haven't. He nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something he'd suspected. Then we have nothing to talk about, he said, and closed the door. I stood there for a long time, listening to him move around inside, the soft sounds of organization and preparation. Something was building, something I couldn't quite grasp, and for the first time since this all started, I felt genuinely afraid, but not afraid enough to stop, not afraid enough to change. The next morning, I posted another photo with Jasper, this one from the bar, our hands intertwined on the table, both of us smiling into the camera. The caption read, "Real friends support you through everything. Grateful, no true connection, no ignore the haters." I told myself I was taking a stand, refusing to be controlled, living authentically. I didn't know I was writing my own ending, one post at a time. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a man in a cheap suit who asked me to state my full name before handing it over. Ivadne Marie Hartley. Yes? You've been served. The words didn't compute at first. Served, like in the movies. I stood in my doorway in my bathrobe, staring at the official-looking papers, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words swam on the page, Caleb's name in neat type, my name below it, legal language that boiled our 7-year marriage down to a series of cold, factual statements. No, I whispered, sinking onto the front steps. No, no, no. But there it was, in black and white, filed 3 days ago, according to the date stamp. While I was posting photos and defending my right to have fun, my husband was dismantling our life with methodical precision. I called his cell phone with shaking fingers. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. His school, then. I'm sorry, Mrs. Hartley, but Mr. Hartley is in class and cannot be disturbed. Would you like to leave a message? Tell him his wife called. Tell him it's an emergency. I'll make sure he gets the message. But I knew he wouldn't call back. This was Caleb we were talking about, the man who planned everything down to the last detail, who never acted impulsively, who had apparently been building toward this moment for weeks while I remained obliviously self-absorbed. I called Lynn, my hand still shaking. Lynn, Caleb filed for divorce. He had me served. I don't understand what's happening. Oh, Ivadne. Her voice was heavy with something that sounded almost like relief. I was wondering when you'd call. You knew? He called me yesterday, asked if I wanted to pick up some of your things before the locks get changed. The locks? What locks? This is my house too. Not according to the court order. Ivadne, you need to read those papers carefully. He's not just filing for divorce, he's filing for separation of assets, temporary restraining orders, the works. My world tilted sideways. Restraining orders? From what? From harassment, from posting about him online, from, oh honey, from a lot of things. I raced back inside and spread the papers across the kitchen table, really reading them for the first time. The legal language was dense, but certain phrases jumped out like neon signs. Emotional abandonment, public humiliation, adultery. Adultery, I shrieked into the phone. I never had sex with Jasper. Physical adultery isn't the only kind that matters in court, Lynn said quietly. Emotional adultery, public displays of affection with someone other than your spouse, creating the appearance of infidelity. It all counts, Ivadne. I kept reading, my horror growing with each page. Caleb hadn't just filed for divorce, he'd built a case, a comprehensive, devastating case complete with exhibits. Exhibit A, screenshots of social media posts, organized chronologically. Exhibit B, witness statements from the parties where Jasper had put his hands on me. Exhibit C, photos and videos, including ones I didn't even remember being taken. Exhibit D, text messages between Jasper and me, somehow obtained and printed out. I flipped through page after page of evidence, seeing my choices laid out in stark black and white. Without the context of alcohol and validation, and the need to be desired, it all looked exactly as damning as Caleb claimed it was. "How did he get my text messages?" I asked weakly. "We're on the same phone plan," Caleb's voice said behind me. I spun around to find my husband standing in the doorway, still in his work clothes, his face completely emotionless. "Lynn, I'll call you back," I managed, ending the call. "Hello, Ivadne." "Caleb, thank God you're here. We need to talk about this. I know how it looks, but it looks like my wife had an emotional affair with my former friend, publicly humiliated me repeatedly, and chose her need for attention over our marriage. That's not... I never meant... What did you mean, Ivadne? When you let him kiss you and posted it online, what exactly did you mean?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. What had I meant? In the moment, it had felt like fun, like rebellion, like proof that I was desirable and alive. But looking at it through Caleb's eyes, through the cold lens of legal documentation, I meant that I was having fun with a friend who told you to leave me for him. My blood froze. "How do you—" "The text messages, Ivadne, I have all of them, including the ones where he suggested you deserved better than me, where you agreed that I was controlling and uptight, where you made plans to meet him while telling me you were working late." I had forgotten about those messages. In the haze of emotional validation and wine-fueled conversations, I'd said things I didn't mean, agreed to things I shouldn't have agreed to. We were just venting. Everyone complains about their spouse sometimes. To their spouse's former friend, while carrying on an emotional affair with him. It wasn't an affair. Then what was it? The question hung in the air between us. What was it? What did you call the late-night texts, the secret meetings, the increasing intimacy, the way my heart raced when Jasper called? "It was friendship," I said weakly. "Friendship." He repeated the word like it was foreign. "Is that what you call it when you choose another man over your husband, repeatedly, publicly, without apology or remorse?" "I never chose him over you. You did it every time you defended him instead of listening to my concerns. Every time you prioritized his feelings over mine. Every time you posted photos designed to make him look good and me look like a fool." "That's not what I was doing." "Then what were you doing, Ivadne? Explain it to me. Make me understand how any of this was about friendship." I stared at him, this man I'd married 7 years ago, this quiet, methodical person who had apparently been documenting my betrayal with the same precision he used to grade math tests. "I was trying to live my life," I said finally. "I was trying to be myself." "Your life, yourself." He nodded slowly. "Not our life, not our marriage, just you. That's not fair." "Fair?" For the first time, emotion cracked through his calm facade. "You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that my students saw pictures of my wife kissing another man? Is it fair that my parents had to defend you to their friends? Is it fair that I spent weeks trying to save a marriage while you were planning to leave it?" "I was never planning to leave. The text messages say otherwise." He pulled out his phone and began reading, in a flat, emotionless voice. "Maybe Jasper is right. Maybe I do deserve better. Caleb doesn't understand me the way you do. I can't keep living like this, walking on eggshells. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I'd made different choices." Each quote hit like a physical blow. I remembered sending those messages, remembered the wine, and the self-pity and the intoxicating feeling of being understood by someone who thought I was perfect just as I was. Those were just, I was upset, I was venting. To him, always to him, never to me, never to a marriage counselor, never to anyone who might have helped us fix this, just to the man who wanted you to leave me. I had no answer for that, because he was right. In my need for validation, I'd turned to the one person guaranteed to tell me what I wanted to hear, consequences be damned. Caleb, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can... No. The word was final, absolute. No. I'm done, Ivadne. I'm done being married to someone who thinks fidelity is optional, who thinks public humiliation is acceptable, who thinks marriage is a backup plan for when the excitement runs out. I never thought that. You lived it. For months you lived it, and now you're facing the consequences. He turned to leave, then paused. Your things will be packed and ready for pickup tomorrow. Lynn has the details. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Caleb, please, I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something like sadness in his eyes. I loved you too, he said quietly. But love isn't enough when there's no respect, and you've made it clear that you don't respect me, our marriage, or yourself. That's not true. Then why are we here, Ivadne? If you respected our marriage, why am I serving you divorce papers? If you respected me, why did my family have to see photos of you kissing another man? If you respected yourself, why did you throw away 7 years for someone who just wanted to prove he could take you away from me? The questions hit like hammer blows, each one exposing the ugly truth I'd been avoiding for months. I don't know, I whispered. I do, he said, because it was easier than doing the work, easier than communicating, easier than being a wife instead of just playing one when it suited you. He walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. For what it's worth, I hope you figure it out someday. I hope you learn to value what you have before you destroy it. But you won't learn it from me. The door closed with a soft click, and I was alone with the papers scattered across our kitchen table, the evidence of my choices staring back at me in black and white. I called Jasper, desperate for comfort, for someone to tell me this was all Caleb's fault, that I was the victim here. I can't talk right now, he said, his voice strangely distant. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. What do you mean? I mean, I never wanted it to go this far. I never meant for you to actually leave him. You told me I should. I was flirting, Ivadne. I was having fun. I didn't think you'd actually blow up your marriage over it. The line went dead, and I realized that I was truly alone. My husband was gone. My family was disappointed. My friends were divided, and the man I'd risked everything for had just revealed that it was all a game to him. I sat in my empty house, surrounded by the wreckage of my choices, finally understanding what Caleb had been trying to tell me all along. But understanding came too late. The papers were filed, the evidence was documented, and the man I'd married was done giving me chances to break his heart. 3 months later, I stood on the courthouse steps with the final decree ending my marriage. The crisp morning felt more like a funeral than a fresh start. The divorce was swift. Caleb's evidence was overwhelming, so airtight my lawyer advised against fighting it. I'd only lose and pay his fees too. 7 years dissolved into asset splits and alimony that barely covered half my bills. Caleb emerged calm and composed, thinner but at peace. I caught up to him. Can we talk? Just a minute. He glanced at his watch but waited. I'm sorry, I said, for the photos, the humiliation, for choosing ego over us. Okay, that's all. What do you want, Ivadne? Forgiveness? Friendship? I don't know. Something. I forgive you, he said quietly. Not for you, for me. Anger is exhausting. Does that mean? It means I forgive you. It doesn't mean I trust you or want you in my life. It means I'm choosing peace. The calm cut deeper than rage would have. I lost myself in the attention, I pleaded. You found yourself, he replied. You chose instant gratification over commitment when it counted most. Do you hate me? No, I don't feel anything about you anymore. That's probably the saddest part. He paused before leaving. I hope you figure out why you needed so much validation that you'd destroy everything stable. But do it with someone else. I'm done being collateral damage. I watched him walk away, straight-backed and purposeful, the real end. That night in my cramped apartment, I scrolled old photos that once felt triumphant, but now screamed self-destruction. Friends distanced themselves. Jasper vanished once the thrill faded. Caleb was already dating someone steady, someone who valued building together. I'd had that once. I'd thrown it away for fleeting attention, validation, selfishness. Now I sat alone with the consequences, finally understanding. Love without respect is empty, and choosing yourself over your partner isn't freedom, it's betrayal. Understanding came too late.